Hi everybody, welcome to my channel Numbers with Nora. This is a math tutoring channel where you can come to get all your math help, your math needs, and also put in the comment any math homework questions that you have. For this specific video, I'm going to be doing Algebra 2, and this is just a rational expression practice. One of my 2Ds was kind enough to send me her practice that her teacher gave her for her test that she has coming up on rational expressions. If you want this PDF version that I have, I can send it to you so you have something to practice with. And if you have any questions on what I'm going to do, then just put a comment down below. So here's the PDF. There are a lot of questions on here. So for this specific video, I'm just going to be focusing on section 1, and I'm going to be doing the hardest ones, which are E and F. And they want us to simplify and state my restrictions for the domain. For right now, I'm just going to simplify them. If you want the restrictions for the domain, put a comment below and I will put that. But right now, I just want to focus on the hardest ones and how to simplify them. So let's start with E. So for these ones, when you're dealing with rational expressions, the first thing you want to do is factor down as much as you can. So let's go ahead and do that. Let's start with factoring the bottom one because that seems like it's going to be the easiest. For this one, my coefficient of my x squared is just 1. So that means I can use regular factoring where I sit there and find two numbers that multiply together to get me 15, but then add together to give me -8. So what that's going to come to is just x -3 and x -5. All right, and if you need review on factoring, put a comment down below and I can sit there and send you some stuff for factoring as well. All right, and I'll just slash that out because we factored that out. Then again, right here, this is also easy to factor. This is difference of squares. So that's just going to be x plus 3 and x minus 3. All right. And x minus 3. So we factored out our domains. Now let's head to the top. For this one, we're going to sit there and factor by grouping. Notice we can't use factoring by greatest common factor because this 15 right here doesn't have an x and they don't share any common factors. So when we factor by grouping, we just sit there and group our first two terms together and then our last two terms together. We usually use this kind of factoring when we're doing the cross method. That's what I call it. All right. So once we group those two terms together, I'm going to write it over here. We will have, we're going to pull out the greatest common factor for our first two terms, which is going to be x squared. So then I'll have x squared. And then I write in the parentheses what is remaining over. So I put x minus 5. Okay. And then again, using GCF to factor out my second terms that I grouped. So I'm going to pull out a -3. In my parentheses, I'm going to have x minus 5. All right. And then after I sit there and do that, I'm going to sit there and notice you're doing it right when you have both of your inside terms or your group terms. They're the same binomial. So I'm going to write my outside terms together and then my same binomial, just write that as 1. So this is going to be x squared minus 3. And then x minus 5. Okay. And that's our factored form of it. I'm going to go ahead and erase this so I can have more room. And we can't sit there and factor 2x. So after I have everything factored down, now I'm just going to treat them like normal fractions and add them together. So I need to sit there and find my common, oops. Oh, first I can sit there and notice that I can cross out two terms, right? Right here on my denominator and my numerator, I have x minus 5 and x minus 5. I can cross these out, okay? That looks better. Now I can sit there and start adding them like regular fractions. All right, so I want my least common denominator. My least common denominator between these two are going to be x minus 3 and x plus 3. I don't need to write that x minus 3 twice because I'm writing my least common denominator between these two, not my greatest. 3. All right, now for our numerator. Remember with adding fractions, if you sit there and find your least common denominator, then you cross multiply. So for this one, I'm going to do x squared minus 3. But notice down here, I have an x minus 1 or x minus 3 down here already. So I'm just going to do x squared minus 3 times x plus 3. Okay. X squared minus 3. And that's times my x plus 3. Plus 3. All right. And then we do the same for our 2x. Remember our 2x right here. Now, since our 2x already has both of these, it already has an x minus 3 and an x plus 3, I don't have to sit there and multiply by anything because it accounts for both my denominators. So that's just 2x. Okay. Now I can go ahead and continue. Since they both have the same denominator, I can continue by simplifying my numerator. So to simplify this, we're going to sit there and use FOIL. I know some people FOIL in different ways, but the way I do it is I take my first term, multiply it by all of my second binomial, and then my second term, multiply it by all my second binomial. So I'll do that really quick. If you do first, outer, inner, last, and you don't do it this way, that's fine. But as long as we come up with the same answer, then that's good. And then minus 3, then x plus 3. All right, and then you distribute, so then I get x to the third plus 3x squared minus 3x, and all I'm doing is distributing my first term throughout my binomial. And then minus 9. If I see there's no like terms that I can sit there and get together, all right, and I can't really factor this down anymore. So my final answer is just going to be x to the third plus 3x squared minus 3x minus 9 all over my denominator that we already had, which was x minus 3 and x plus 3. And x plus 3. Now, also what I tell my 2Ds as well is if you ever want to check your rational expressions, if your teacher doesn't give you your answers, you can always sit there and use a rational calculator. I'll sit there and put the link for it in the comments of this video below. And the rational calculator will sit there and show you step by step how you can solve this problem. It might skip a little steps that I did, but it still helps you get through it. And then it shows you the answer so you can sit there and check and make sure that your rational expression answer is right. Okay. All right. So that was E. Let's go ahead and move on to F. Again, this one looks a little bit more complicated, but we're going to go step by step and see how to do it. All right. All right, so how I'm going to tackle this one is I'm first going to focus on the top, okay? So let's first focus on the top because we do have some negative exponents and we want to sit there and deal with that. So let's deal with the top and rewrite that out. So for this one, I notice I have 3x to the -2. Remember with negative exponents, there's a property where we have a negative exponent, we just drop it down, or if we have a negative exponent in the bottom, we bring it up. So for this one, I can rewrite as 3 over x squared. Oops, it's a big X, that's okay. And then plus, again, this whole thing is to the negative exponent. I just drop that whole thing down and put it under 1. So 1 under 2x plus 1. All right. We can still sit there and treat this as a fraction, just as we would sit there and solve regular fractions. I want the common denominator. The common denominator is going to be x squared, 2x plus 1, because we're just multiplying our denominators together. Plus 1. All right. And then on our top, remember we cross multiply when we do that. So I can do 3 times 2x plus 1. X plus 1. In my parentheses, that's supposed to be parentheses. And then I can do 1 times x squared, and that's going to be plus, and that's just x squared. Now I can keep on simplifying this down. I can sit there and distribute that 3 through. When I do that, I'm going to get 6x plus 3 plus x squared. And I'm just going to leave the denominator as so. Okay. And that's kind of as far down as I can sit there and kind of simplify down the numerator. So next we're going to sit there and deal with the bottom or denominator. Okay. So I'll just put B for bottom. Okay. So the bottom one's going to be a little bit trickier. It looks a little bit nastier, but it's not that bad. So for this one, notice I can't just bring that up like that, but I can write this x to the -1 differently. So let's go ahead and do that. I'll put 6 over 1 over x plus 2, because my goal is I just want to get rid of my negative exponents first. And then I can rewrite this as 3, and I can just drop down that x to get rid of my negative exponents, right? After I do that, I still want to kind of sit there and simplify it down this part right here. So I'll do that part over here. Okay, I'll kind of box it off so we don't get confused. So I want to sit there and do 1 over x plus, and I can put that 2 over a 1. So they're both written as fractions. And then when I sit there and combine these at fractions, I'll have my denominator, my common denominator, as x. Cross multiply of 2x plus 1. Plus 1. All right. Because I'm running out of room, I'm going to sit there and rewrite this right here, okay? So then I have 2x plus 1 over x. All right. I believe that's what I wanted to do. So then after I do that, I want to sit there and deal with, again, I have to make more room. Sorry if you guys follow along. If you missed some of the things, just rewind the video. Okay. And so now I just want to deal with this portion right here, right? So with this one, this is a fraction over a fraction. And remember the rule, keep, change, flip. So the 6, again, I'll mark this off because we're doing just this portion right here. So I want to keep the 6. I can just write that as 6 over 1. So keep, change our sign. Instead of division, we're going to use multiplication. And then we're going to flip this. This becomes x over 2x. plus 1. And then I can go ahead and combine these. When I sit there and combine these, I get 6x, because when we multiply fractions, we just multiply across. 6x over 2x plus 1. Okay, perfect. And that's what that becomes. Again, sorry, I'm running out of room. Usually I like to show all my work, but I have only a little bit of space to work with right here. Okay, so then that can be rewritten as 6x over 2x plus 1. Great. I'm going to erase that just so we have room. All right, now this looks a lot better. This looks like fractions that we can sit there and or add together. So let's go ahead and do that. So then my common denominator would be x times 2x plus 1. And then on the top, again, I just cross multiply. 6x times 6, that's 6x squared. All right. And then 3 times 2x plus, or 3 times 2x plus 1, multiply those together. Plus 1. But of course, we can sit there, rewrite that as 6x squared, because we're going to just distribute this 3 to hit each and every term. So 6x squared plus 6x plus 3. And then over, I'm just going to keep that as x, 2x plus 1. Okay. And that's as far down as I can simplify my bottom part. So now that I have my top and my bottom simplified down, I can rewrite this. Okay. Let me erase some stuff so we have some space. So that's my bottom part that I ended up with. And then that's my top part that I ended up with. So let's go ahead and rewrite that. So my top part is just 6x plus 3 plus x squared. And then my bottom part is x squared, 2x plus 1. Okay. And that's all going to be over my bottom part. Okay, so I have a fraction on top of a fraction. And that's 6x squared plus 6x plus 3 over x, 2x plus 1. Right, nice. Now that we have it written out like that, again, we see that we have the two fractions. So what we're going to do is do the keep, change, flip. Okay, just for time's sakes, we're going to keep this part. We change it from division to multiplication, and then we flip our bottom fractions, which is going to be x, 2x plus 1, and all that is over 6x squared plus 6x plus 3. Okay, nice. Now this looks a whole lot better. It looks like we can start canceling stuff out because they're being multiplied. So let's sit there and see what we can cancel out. So we can cancel out this 2x plus 1. That can go. After that, I noticed that if I simplify down this x squared and x, remember our exponent rules, I'm going to do 1 minus 2, which will give me -1. So that means I'll have an x in the bottom. Now, there's nothing much else that we can do with these expressions. So I just get 6x squared plus 6x plus 3. We could factor out a 3, but it's not really going to do anything for us. So I'll just leave it like that. And then our top, there's nothing else we can really do with the top. 6x plus 3 plus x squared. And even if I did write this in order, x squared plus 6x plus 3, I can't think of two things that multiply together, but then at the same time add together to get 3 and 6. So I can't factor that out as well. So this is going to be our final answer for F. And again, I will put that rational calculator in the comments of this video, so you can have that if you need help with the other ones. I am going to make one more video. If you have any more questions on A, B, C, or D, or would like to see step-by-step how you do them, write a comment below, and I will sit there and show you step-by-step how to do them. But in my next video for this one, I am actually going to do, I believe, 2 of the problems from this section as well. Okay. And then hopefully a graphing one down here that you guys would like to see. All right. So if you have any homework questions or like further tutoring, please subscribe or leave a message in my comments. Thanks, guys.